Salt Lake City might be freezing on the outside, but according to Lisa Barlow, the real cold front is blowing directly through the friend group she helped build from the ground up. From the glam, the glitz, the trips, and the tequila, you'd think things would be heating up by now. But instead, Season 6 has turned into something far darker and far more personal than Lisa expected. Because for the first time in her Housewives history, she's waking up every morning not to excitement, not to anticipation, but to a tidal wave of hate. Hate, she says, comes from one place and one place only: lies. And the most shocking part? She swears she has no idea why her own castmates would want to ruin not just her season, but her entire experience on the show she helped bring to life. Before we dive deeper into this unraveling storm of accusations, betrayals, shifting alliances, and the freezing out plot that might go down as the boldest move in RHOSLC history, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, because you're not going to want to miss a single second of what happens next. Lisa Barlow didn't mince a single word when she stepped into BravoCon. She said the air was icy, and not because of the Vegas air conditioning. For her, this season wasn't just rough, it was suffocating. She insisted she has never done to these women what they are accusing her of, yet somehow she's become the villain in a narrative she says they're writing without her consent. Imagine, she said, helping bring the show to Salt Lake City, opening the doors for this ensemble cast, and then being rewarded with rumors so sharp they feel like daggers aimed at her reputation, her friendships, and even her businesses. Lisa didn't say it dramatically. She said it defeatedly, because every day, according to her, the lies kept coming, and the hate grew louder. Her claim is simple but heavy. A group of her own co-stars decided they were going to ice her out. Lisa described it as a slow, calculated shift, a subtle distancing that eventually became unavoidable. She couldn't shake the sense that some of the women had made it their mission to isolate her. But the part that stings the most? These were the same women who often accused her of trying to isolate them. Lisa said the irony was impossible to ignore. In her words, the ones who cry the most about being iced out are the ones who do it to others. And this time, she believes those others were her and Meredith Marks. This wasn't just a petty snub or a silent treatment. She described it as a systematic push to the outskirts of the group. And if there's anything Lisa Barlow is confident about, it's her loyalty. She prides herself on keeping friendships from kindergarten, from college, from every era of her life. She says she doesn't ditch people, she doesn't twist stories, and she doesn't betray trust. So when she looked across the table at some of the women she thought were friends, and asked herself why she continued giving them her loyalty, she didn't have an answer. According to Lisa, it was heartbreaking to realize she might have been pouring loyalty into people who were never pouring it back. What she didn't expect was just how personal the attacks would get. She mentioned her name, her character, even her ankles being mocked, something she said was so ridiculous it would almost be funny if it weren't so cruel. But the rumor that cut the deepest came during the Below Deck girls' trip. The anecdote that Heather and Angie claimed she shared about Bronwyn's husband, Todd Bradley. According to Lisa, that conversation was private, off camera, and never meant to be weaponized. She said she never brought it on camera, never intended for it to be gossip, and never meant for a personal moment to be twisted into an accusation of her planting stories. To her, this wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a character hit. Lisa said she's always supported Heather, always stayed consistent, never gone backward with her or with Whitney or Mary. So when Heather brought the alleged Todd rumor onto national television, Lisa said it felt like a betrayal of the highest level, something that cut her deeper than viewers might ever see. But while Lisa's emotional interviews spread across BravoCon, Heather Gay, Whitney Rose, and Brittany Bateman were giving their own version of events. Their message was the complete opposite. No one is assassinating Lisa's character. In fact, they insisted they were welcoming her more than ever before. Heather said she didn't believe Lisa was being iced out at all, while Whitney claimed they were simply holding Lisa accountable for her truth. A phrase that curiously echoes some of the exact conflicts that have plagued this cast for years. This clash of perspectives has created one of the most confusing and emotionally charged divides in RHOSLC so far. On one side, Lisa believes she's being targeted by lies, betrayal, and an intentional freeze-out. On the other side, Heather and Whitney believe they're simply telling the truth and calling out inconsistency. Somewhere in the middle sits Meredith, trying to protect her bond with Lisa while navigating the fractures exploding around them. And yet, through every wound, every accusation, every misinterpreted conversation, Lisa still said something unexpected. She loves each of these women. She said every friendship in this group serves a different purpose, fulfills a different need, hits a different part of her heart. But love doesn't protect you from disappointment, and it certainly doesn't shield you from betrayal. If this is how part 1 feels, just wait until we start pulling apart the motives behind the freeze-out, the real reason the Todd rumor became the season's turning point, and the behind-the-scenes alliances Bravo cameras didn't catch. As the season unravels, questions grow louder. Who is actually telling the truth, and who is weaving the perfect narrative to stay in the spotlight? Because the more we look at the threads tying these moments together, the more the picture shifts. What Lisa sees as a deliberate freeze-out, others frame as accountability. What she calls betrayal, others call transparency. And somewhere between the backstage whispers at BravoCon and the on-camera confrontations in Salt Lake City lies a truth that none of them are willing to fully admit out loud. Yet every viewer watching can feel it. Someone is hiding something, and someone is pushing this storyline with intention. The tension started long before the Below Deck trip. You can trace it back through small micro-moments, tiny slights, looks exchanged across group dinners, comments made under breaths during confessionals. The energy around Lisa didn't shift overnight. It built up over time like frost creeping across a window pane, layer by layer, until suddenly everything was cold. The rumor about Bronwyn's husband wasn't an isolated spark. It landed on months of emotional dry brush. A single accusation, especially one delivered publicly, was potent enough to explode into a wildfire of hurt, ego, and disbelief. Lisa keeps returning to one word: loyalty. She believes she gives it freely and deeply. She believes she has earned it in return. But the very women she expects loyalty from insist they're not attacking her. They're responding to her. And this is where the season sharpens into pure conflict. Two sides looking at the same events, but seeing two completely different realities. One insists they're being unfairly targeted. The other insists they're finally speaking honestly. And neither side is willing to step back long enough to see what the audience sees. Both sides are wounded, and both sides are fighting to protect their place in the group. Heather Gay, always composed with her own mixture of warmth and bluntness, says the group isn't trying to ruin Lisa's experience. They're trying to address what they see happening. Whitney echoes the same point. They welcomed her, they embraced her, they didn't push her out. But when you line these interviews up against Lisa's trembling voice, the contrast is jarring. It's like two different shows playing at once. Heather and Whitney say they're standing in the truth. Lisa says they're standing on a pile of lies. Watching it all, Bravo fans can't help but ask, how can all of this be happening in the same friend group at the same time? What makes it even more intense is Lisa's insistence that she has private conversations she has never weaponized. She says things shared off-camera should stay off-camera. She says friendships require a level of sacred trust. And yet those private conversations, like the one about Todd, somehow become storyline fuel. That moment was the breaking point for her. It wasn't just gossip, it was personal, emotional, and private. To her, bringing it onto the show wasn't just wrong, it was devastating. She says it was a direct shot at her integrity, her intentions, her humanity. But here's the twist. Her castmates don't see it that way. They claim they are not assassinating her character. They insist she isn't the victim she paints herself to be. And that's what pushes the season into its darkest complexity. Everyone thinks they are the ones telling the truth. Everyone thinks they are the ones being wronged. Everyone thinks they are the ones justified in their reactions. In a city full of snow-capped mountains, this might be the iciest standoff RHOSLC has ever filmed. Even still, Lisa says she loves them all. Even still, she says every relationship, every argument, every clash has meaning. Even still, she says she's willing to mend fences, even after everything's said, done, and twisted. But love doesn't erase wounds. And forgiveness doesn't clean the slate unless both sides are willing to start over. So the question for the group becomes, are these friendships salvageable, or is the frostbite already too deep? With the season heading toward its final arc, what happens next will determine everything. Whether Lisa rebuilds or breaks away. Whether Heather and Whitney stand firm or soften. Whether Meredith becomes peacekeeper or protector. Whether the group collapses from the inside or emerges stronger. And whether this season will be remembered as the year of truth or the year of rewriting history. Salt Lake City may look beautiful from the outside, but the storm swirling inside this friend group is far from settling. And as the women face each other again, with cameras rolling and tensions rising, one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same after this. These fractures won't heal easily. These wounds won't close quietly. And every viewer knows the final showdown is coming. This is the moment where friendships break, loyalties shift, and long-buried truths claw their way into the light. Because in a group where everyone wants to shape the narrative, only one thing is guaranteed: someone's truth is about to crack wide open.